Hello, today we're going to be talking about the potential for some severe weather upcoming later this week and probably some other events next week as well. But first, let's dive in, look at the Storm Prediction Center's discussion. So, we'll just read it here as a large upper level trough departs the northeastern states. A deepening mean trough is forecast across the west, with a leading shortwave merging into the central and northern plains on day 5 Friday. A surface low is forecast to deepen across portions of Kansas on day 5 Friday, moving into Iowa on day 6. Several models indicate only weak instability will develop with the system, with mid to upper 52 points on steam across this area and perhaps 500 most unstable Cape. The bulk of the thunderstorms are expected across northeast or across Iowa or Iowa and Nebraska late Friday, and shear may be favorable for isolated severe storms. By day 6, scattered thunderstorms are expected across the middle to upper Mississippi River Valley, mainly in a warm advection regime, but also near a potential surface low check. Forecast showing some capping in the warm sector, but trends will be monitored in later model runs for better destabilization via heating as shear is plentiful in the region. On day 7, models indicate strong southwest flow loft that will persist from the central and southern plains as a leading shortwave trough affects Arizona and New Mexico and into western Texas. A stalled cold front will likely exist roughly from northern Texas into Oklahoma, and mid-60s dew points appear possible across the developing warm sector. Though though day 8 Monday is appear possible across the developing warm sector through day 8 Monday. Predictability is low regarding the timing of these troughs this far out. Severe probabilities may be needed in later outlooks. So we're monitoring three straight days of severe weather. We're gonna first start off with the GFS, then move to the Euro, and then move to the UK Met, and then I'm probably not gonna look at the Canadian today. Let's just exit out of that. Here's the GFS. So here's Friday. You can see the shortwave is starting to move into the region there, and it's getting late Friday here. We can see here it starts to eject across portions of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas there, probably leading to some potential for some severe storms in here. Let's stop this here at hour 120. Take a look. Here is a warm sector here. We have dew points up into the 50s already, spanning into Iowa there. Let's look at a sounding there in central Kansas. We'll just take one. So yeah, a very stout capping inversion is in place. Maybe 60 is not going to be as stout. Let's just take a look here. We're just going to take a look here. I haven't really been looking into Friday as much. Still a very stout capping inversion. We can look at the surface of the track too, just to see. Yeah, maybe Nebraska. I would say overall, this does not look like to be a big time severe weather setup, given the fact that you have a lack of surface escape and also a lack of like a very strong cap. Maybe some areas could break out and get an isolated severe weather, but probably not based off what I'm seeing right now. But as we progress further on, we start to see. So it's gonna take a second to load here, but we start to see that we have multiple low pressures to develop one across the southeast that really doesn't do anything. But then Saturday, these kind of merge late or early Saturday. We see some freezing rain and snow across the Midwest, thunderstorms and showers across Illinois there. We can take a sounding there to see if these are going to be severe or anything or strong. No, just your general generic showers and maybe thunderstorms. As we get into around 18 to 21 Z on Saturday, we start to see this low pressure start to really bomb out across Nebraska there. And we start to see pretty wide open warm sector there. Probably ongoing strong to severe thunderstorms on a band along the dry line here in Iowa, Missouri. And yeah, I did say dry line. This setup is dealing with a dry line. I don't know why it has a move icon on it, but there it is because it wasn't moving that. But at 0Z, we start to see the surface low still there. Strong thunderstorm band kind of in here at this point still. As we move along, oh, whoops, that's a little bit too far. It's a little bit not so far. As we move on to 3Z, we start to see that band kind of move off a little bit. Oh, wait, that's the 12Z run. Let me look at this 18Z run. Whoopsies. That's a little bit of a technical difficulty on my part, but here's the 18Z run. Sorry for confusion and stuff. But 18Z run, pretty similar progression. We have a stronger band of thunderstorms, though, across that area. Move across here, we start to see that system move out. A new system kind of forms here. There is potential for some isolated severe thunderstorms to scatter all the way into Illinois and areas like that on this day as well. Another lead low pressure kind of forms. We can take a sounding there ahead of all that convection. And yeah, that's a very favorable environment for tornadoes in Illinois. I mean, you have 67 dew point, 62 dew point with a 67 temp. It's pretty saturated, but it's low cape, high shear setup. Very high shear. Look at that photograph right there. But yeah, that's definitely favorable. We'll look at more soundings and stuff as we get a little bit into this. But you can see that system move out. We get a new system to come down from the Rockies, and that brings up a lot of warm, moist air. And we get another low pressure system right here. Maybe some severe storms with this. We'll have to see. Maybe a winter storm for the Northeast. Another system, though, quickly moves out and goes into kind of portions of the Southeast United States. This run does not have it being as organized as some past runs have had it. Some past runs have had a powerhouse system bringing some pretty major winter storm conditions and more significant severe weather potential. We'll see what happens with that, though. And then we get into La La Land where we have no clue what's going to happen really after that. Now let's go into the Midwest sector here. We're going to go to hour 126, I believe, right? Yep, 126. You can see here at this point, this is 0Z, and we start to see a stout dry line here, kind of across, anywhere from this low pressure here, anywhere southward. The cold front's kind of all the way up here. Pretty cool that this is a dry line setup. Pretty happy about that. As we get like kind of into eastern Missouri there, solid severe weather setup. Very good photographs I'm seeing. Instability could be a problem, but this is more of a cold core setup. Looking at the 500 millibar, it is pretty cold. Very cold. Now, there is a problem. There might be a little bit of an 850 millibar warm nose. We'll have to really watch that. This run has it being sort of warm there. We'll take a sounding where it's pretty warm. 14 degrees Celsius, just to get an idea. Yeah, very warm. And that's past the dry line, though, so kind of right here, though. A little bit warm. Not too bad, though. Looking at the 850 millibar winds, you can see here, pretty strong flow. 50 plus knots across a very large area there. Missouri getting into it. Illinois. There might even be a severe threat further south. It just depends on the storm initiation. We're going to now look at the surface instability for this setup, or lapse rates first. Lapse rates are going to be pretty high, especially in the mid-levels there. There's a bit more of a dry punch in the mid-levels there. We can look at the moisture. That's more of a dry punch right there. There's a pretty stout dry slot that gets kind of punched in here with this, and that would probably give lead to more favorability for severe storms. Looking at the instability that we have with our crossovers here, we see widespread 500 plus surface-based cape with an area of 1,000 there in Missouri and an area of 1,000 there in Iowa as well. And this is more than enough to get stuff going. We can take a box sounding across portions of Missouri and Iowa there just to get a general look and see what the severe weather setup's looking like. And there you go. So you're going to have dew points around 56 degrees with temperatures in the mid-60s there. Marginal instability, solid lapse rates, decent 3 cape, especially for the time of year that we're in. A really good photograph. I think the shear is probably going to carry this. Shear's looking really good with the setup. And yeah, here's a bit further south. We can look at the mid-Mississippi or Ohio Valley sector here. And here's maybe even to Arkansas could see severe weather with this. If we take a sounding here. It's a lot more capped though, so it's gonna be a lot more questionable if we get storm development. As we get to 60 here, Illinois starts to see potential for severe weather. Maybe Wisconsin too. Pretty solid stuff here. Strong. Oh, whoops! I did not mean to favor that. Strong photograph here. You have a pretty nice amount of shear with this. It's pretty crosswise though, given that there's no turning, so it's to be linear by hand. By then, I cannot speak. Let's see what the GFS has front-wise. And it looks like it has turned into more of a cold front, but it looks like you have another boundary as well with this. 850 flow-wise, it's nearly 60 knots in some spots. Lapse rates are probably going to be pretty strong. Yep, they're solid. Now going into the next day, it's going to be a pretty large area, so we can cover it with the sector that kind of goes out for the whole continental United States. We'll go to 21Z. Well, first look at the lapse rates, and you can see we're getting the looks like we're getting all this from Mexico, and parts of this area are in a really big drought, so you're bringing up some warm mid-level air. And let's see if that's exactly where that flow is coming from. And yeah, pretty much it's coming from northern Mexico there. Flow is getting kind of pushed up into here. At this point, severe weather is pretty possible for areas kind of like this. Just depends. Anywhere from Illinois all the way down into Texas, Oklahoma. So places like Missouri, Illinois, you guys could see 2 straight days of severe weather with this upcoming setup potentially. Given mesoscale details, there's a lot of stuff that could happen over the next few days. That's the 850 flow, and here's the dew points. There's widespread 60s across the whole thing. We'll just take a huge box sounding just to see what we get. And across that box sounding, you get instability values of almost 1,000 joules per kilogram at the surface with pretty strong stout lapse rates here and a pretty good warm nose. Solid hodograph shape, nearly 200 3-kilometer helicity as well. Taking a plot sounding in kind of eastern Arkansas there with the higher dew points there. It's not that great shear-wise. If you go a little bit further west, it probably is great shear-wise, though. Oh, yeah, that's better. It's a little bit more warm-nosed, though. As you get into 3Z, we see the system bring up a lot more moisture, and another low pressure forms in Illinois if the GFSA would actually happen. If this happens, we're probably going to get a more organized severe weather event with a couple modes. The northern mode being present, kind of in here, and then you have a southern mode more driven by the dry line or cold front feature kind of in here. So we'll have to see what happens. It's very possible we see something further north, but it's very possible we don't either. If something does happen very far further north, you're probably going to get some pretty good shear profiles up there. Like, really good shear profiles up there. For everything to work with. And you can see here, pretty nice look at reflectivity. You have dual lows. One for the southern mode and one for the northern mode. And then you have another one. That's the old system that was in Iowa. And that area came from back there. So, yeah. We're not going to go look super far out. This is probably the furthest out we're going to look. I mean, I can look at the GFS around for this. Potential the next day for a bombing system out here to bring a nice line of showers and thunderstorms all the way back into Texas. Maybe some severe storms along that to be determined for that risk. Here's the 500 millibar with the Euro. We'll just take a look at that. As we get this trough to kind of eject in here. Saturday. Another trough to eject in there Sunday. And then maybe another one to eject in there later week. We'll see. We will stop this at our 120, 132 maybe? Yeah, we'll stop at 132 for right now. You're not going so heavy with the moisture. We have a pretty broad warm sector there. It has a weaker low pressure, 1,002 millibars or so. Let me just take a look at that gander. 999 millibars, so not as strong as what the GFS has, and the Euro, they have a bit stronger of a low pressure with this system. Not really trying to look at the reflectivity for nothing else or just for sounding picking. I just messed my words up so bad. Southeast Iowa though looks not bad, but it's pretty elevated at this point. 21Z is probably the peak for the Euro. We started to look at some pretty solid photographs there in Iowa. Look at that, pretty solid stuff. You go a little bit further north, the photographs get a bit better, and you start to see a little bit more instability as well. And the Euro just goes all out with this, with the flow. Really solid, just classic cold core look to it. Instability values overall, mixed layer cape. We see a pretty good pocket right here of like 500 plus, but other than that, there's not really that much instability being at play. I mean, further east, there's some, not really much though, so the Euro wants this to be more of a low cape situation across this area, being a little bit more linear too with the vectors. Like, that's a little bit weird. Kind of veers itself to all heck, but yeah. The Euro also does not want any severe weather really in Illinois at this setup, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it has it being southern Illinois, extreme southern Illinois. Big time photographs, but not much instability to work with. The Euro also wants the setup to be mainly more, well, I thought it wanted it to be more earlier. That's 60. Okay, so the Euro wants us to be kind of a two phases with it. It wants one phase to be at like 18Z and another phase to be at 60. Here you go with the dew points. Here's the dew points at 60. We see kind of the northern mode kind of set up here. We have the southern mode kind of set up right here. At 0Z, for some reason, the Euro has this huge gap. It's only 60-degree dew points. 18Z, it's like in the 60s, which is upper 60s, which is weird. You don't really have much shear, but you have a lot of instability with that. 500 millibar kind of out here, just sticking out, and freaking Oklahoma and Texas out there. If you go a little bit further west, you can see the flow gets better, but you get a bit more of a warm nose there. But once you get to 6Z, we start to see this trough kind of eject. So the Euro one's more of a late night severe weather event with more of a jet later at night there. We can take out like a little box sign there, northwest of Louisiana, eastern Texas. And yeah, you can definitely see solid flow overall. Here's a look at the UK Met. You see that trough get zoomed and picked up there. UK Met wants a pretty significant event as well. It has it being a little bit later, a little bit more delayed with the shore ejection. Has it starting in New Mexico and Texas, and kind of has the event more a little bit further westward in kind of that general area. So that would probably favor more of an overnight setup for the next day. But you can see here, this is setting up pretty nicely for the next day. 12Z, there even is still some instability and moisture all the way up into Illinois, so this would probably favor that Illinois solution like the GFS does. But as we get into kind of the severe weather setup in general, we see the UK Met just goes all out. Has a bit of a surface inversion there. Other than that, I mean, this photograph is just ridiculous. And the instability is ridiculous. The lapse rates are really good. The 3 cape is really good out of this sounding here. We do take a box sounding kind of that general area in northwest Missouri there. It's very solid, very similar stuff. Take it a little bit bigger, it gets a little bit less impressive, which is what you normally see. This is still very impressive though. If you do end up seeing shear profiles like that, oh man, this is gonna be a big time event. But yeah, the UK Met wants a pretty solid flow as well. A little bit weaker than some of the other models at 850, but the 500 millibar is still really strong. And you can't go out that far with the UK Met, so that's about where I can leave you. Here is the GEFS mean. We have a huge pivotal weather ensemble update now, so that's very cool. Here is the mean for Saturday. So we see we got a mean of around, that's 300 millibars, 80 knots or so at 300 with this system. If we do pause it at hour 132 right there, okay. Here is the 500 millibar mean. And this is more of what you're used to looking at. The mean has 60 plus knots across a pretty large area. Here is the 850 millibar mean. Has a 40 knot streak. Has the low pressure kind of setting up right here with strong flow across here. Here is the MSLP with all members. The mean low pressure is 1004 millibars right here. And then we have a lot of them having a low pressure right here too. I would say there's going to be a low pressure right there. Based off all the models having one, so you're probably going to have dual lows. One right here, maybe another one back here, who knows, but likely that you see 2 lows in here and in here. The leading one would probably be the stronger one at that point. So just to kind of keep an eye on that. Here's the dew points. So the left shows the minimum dew point at that point, and the right shows the maximum dew point. So 55, a lot of upper 50s is the max dew point. 60 in St. Louis, 51. You can see that warm sector really building up. God bless it. 18Z, it's a little bit further west. Dew points mean in Kansas are 57 or 50, 56, 55, something like that. That's the mean. Oh, that's not the mean. That's just what it's put it out here. Oh, you know, that is the mean. That's the mean. I don't think there's any difference. Yeah. So the dew points shown here. This is the mean. This is the mean. And then you kind of have, yeah. So that's the mean. And then the left is like the less at least, and then the right is the most. Here's 0Z for the next day. We can see here there's a lot of variability in particularly kind of this region, kind of anywhere in here has a lot of variability with how much moisture you're gonna have. Really, like anywhere in here. Currently, the GEFS solution is following something close to what the Euro has, but at 6Z, it's very close to what something like the GFS has, where it has more moisture all the way up into that area right there. So I feel like the greatest potential for severe weather on Sunday into Monday morning is probably in here, maybe slightly further north than Sunday, for Illinois at least. I would say the greatest potential for severe weather on Sunday though is going to be anywhere in red probably. Probably going to have some potential severe weather anywhere in here. Then the day before that though, in blue is where you're probably going to see your severe weather, so probably kind of in here. Probably something like that. So some of the days might overlap, we'll see. Then as we get further out, we'll briefly talk about this. There's potential for a severe weather event on on the 10th next week. GFS brings up a broad warm sector. We'll have to see on that. And also the 11th too. It just really depends. Again, a little bit of a warm sector brought up. There's a lot of variability with this. It's very far out. We know there likely is going to be a trough though. Now I want to display some other instability probabilities and stuff for this day. So we're going to take a look at this. This is the probability for Cape, bulk shear, and all that. It's not very high. We'll look at the 18Z run, actually. So you get to around 11% there in kind of Iowa. And then as you get to 0Z, we get a lot wider ranges with 11 to all the way down here. Here's the probability of supercell composite exceeding 1. So we have anywhere in blue is a 40%, red is 70 plus, and pink is like 50 plus. Here's the probability, we're not going to show the probability of exceeding 5 because that's pretty much impossible with this right now. Here's the surface space Cape mean. So we have a mean of 250 for Iowa. Here's the probability that you get over 500 surface joules, which is 20 to 30% right now. For the day after, here is your probabilities. We'll go to 0Z. So there's a very high chance we exceed 500 Cape across anywhere in Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas, and Mississippi. And Arkansas, I don't know if I already said that. It's possible that we exceed that in Oklahoma or in Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, kind of areas like that. Here is kind of that mean value there. It's a 46%. So this is basically overlapping your best severe parameters. And the best overlap is kind of right in there. So that's probably your most likely region for severe weather right now. Here's the probability of a supercell composite value exceeding 1. And right in that region, it's very high, 90% pretty much. So that's very interesting. Here is the Canadian. We'll just look at the mean quickly there. You can see the trough get ejected in. That's Sunday. And then after that, we don't really know what's going to happen. Pretty much is what we're saying. Canadian wants a pretty hefty mean and goes down at 0Z most likely. Yeah, it stays there. The probability of 500 joules per kilogram of Cape or higher is pretty high. As you get to 18Z, it's a lot higher though. It's pretty high, especially across Oklahoma. There areas of 40 plus is there. The day before, let's go look at 0Z the day before. And the Canadian is not so hot with that Illinois threat on this day. Definitely southern Illinois, though, and into Ohio, it's a little bit more hot on that. Anywhere really in here, there's potential based off the Canadian model. Kind of a rough guideline area. Now here's a look at the Euro. There's the trough there, kind of getting ejected in. You can see this is pretty cool with the streamlines. There's really not much else to look on the Euro. You can see the 500 millibar there. We'll look at the 850 millibar wind on the Euro. And then we'll show you the ensemble Cape off the GFS. If the Euro will ever load. Takes a little bit. So the Euro shows a pretty hefty area with 30 plus knots of flow there. So that's pretty cool. And for the day after, it looks like it's more lifted up into the Midwest there. So I'd say your best overlapping of parameters is probably in here for day 4 or day like whatever is that day 7. Will become day 6 tonight. I'm pretty sure. Oh wait, this is Saturday. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, so this is Saturday. Yeah, your best overlapping of things is probably right there, and then this is gonna be Sunday. So yeah, another system comes in Sunday, and you have like the 850 flow over the perfect spot. Now here's a look at our probability of or kind of our Mixler Cape ensembles here. Here's for the Iowa day, so a lot of variability here. I would say I'm gonna say this one is not gonna be any reliable at all. Neither is this one, and neither is this one. That's a little bit too low on the instability. Other than that, I would say this one's a little bit too far west. So other than those other X's, I feel like any of these other ones are possible to be at play here. Some of them show a threat exceeding all the way maybe into Illinois to potentially. We'll see about that though. Kind of get a lot of instability there at 60. Some of them are a little bit slower. Then the next day, pretty uncertain. There's a lot of them. I'm gonna say this is not realistic at all. I'm gonna say this isn't really that realistic either. Other than that, maybe this. And other than that, all these are potential solutions that could happen. Currently, based off what I'm seeing, I would say member 9 has a really good handle on what could happen. Has a lot of instability further south, but it doesn't go super far north as well. And then as you get further out in the La La Land, maybe something happens, maybe something doesn't. I mean, it's La La Land, so you never know. But that will do it for this one. See y'all in the next one.